Yes, the conversation about my studio. My studio is this space is a very sacred space for me. This is my office. This is my place of hanging out. This is where my creative energy is allowed to be safe, and I can go through all things. And then it's my photography studio. Uh, when it came to thinking about transitioning over to studio portraiture and taking that seriously, I had a lot of insecurities about my space, because when you think about a studio, you think about this large open warehouse. When I say you, I mean me. You think about this large open space and tons of ceiling room and super wide. You can roll three or four cars in there and do a photo shoot, and then the next day change it up and do a crowd of people and some athletes, and then really dope intimate one-on-one portraits. And I ain't got that space. And I had a lot of insecurities around it, and I accepted the challenge. And really, the commitment was about not getting in my own way. And when you start to look at portrait photography, well, studio portrait photography, one of the things people often say up front, but you don't have the context to connect the dots, is you don't need a ton of space to make beautiful work. And it's easy to be like, yeah, yeah, whatever, says the person who's got a studio the size of a football field. And then you have to walk the walk. So knowing that I felt that way, that I didn't have adequate space, knowing that on top of feeling like I didn't have adequate space, uh, I wasn't quite sure. I had no confidence about portrait photography in general, and a lot of my lack of confidence came from uh, this is not outdoor portraiture, which is its own thing. I don't have a dope backdrop to hide behind. I don't have some fall lineage leaves. I don't have fall leaves to hide behind those beautiful colors and landscapes, and then you just insert a model, and then it's like, oh yeah, that's a beautiful image. There's nothingness. I now have to shape light. I have to decide the amount of light, the direction of light, the way I'm going to direct the model and the expressions. And there was so much to learn all at once. And the fact that my studio space is what it is didn't help either. And so I powered through, and starting out, you look at your three lights, and I made the mistake of not even having three lights. I had four. I had two edge lights, I had a fill light, I had a key light. And then I went through the Cardi method, and he really challenged me. And he saw one of my behind the scenes. I was like, what the hell are you doing? Why is there four lights in a 10 by 10? Like, no, get rid of that. You only need one light. And to his point, I saw some of that, like, oh, regardless of how I felt about my space, the photos were still acceptable. Like, oh man, it's almost like when I hit that shutter button, the only one that knows I wasn't in a room the size of a football field is me. And the model that was here, outside of that, it was pointless. I was like, okay, well, that's cool, so I can get to work. However, cramming so many lights in a small space, A, had the effect you couldn't tell I was using so many lights. So why were they there in the first place, right? And then B, I'm working with models, and models are an interesting bunch of people. They're super dope at what they do. There's a talent. Models are almost a model is a blank slate to a fault. And their job is to perform even when they're uncomfortable. And I had to learn having four lights is an intimidating thing, especially in such a small space. I'm asking a lot of the model, and I feel like it was taken away from the work. So stripping it down to one light and a reflector was like a godsend to me, and I learned that lesson. And every now and then, maybe I'll just put a light in the back for separation. And now I know I don't need a big strobe back there. A small AD200 in the back corner somewhere will do. But nonetheless, I started to come to the understanding that a small studio space is beside the point, because people can make beautiful work on just a wall in a bathroom if you have to. But there were still limitations, right? As you become more familiar with studio portraiture, there's so many different ways and lighting techniques to achieve what you're after. One of the ones that stood out to me was butterfly lighting, and I still have, to this day, have not been able to execute butterfly lighting, for the very simple fact that my number one and probably only limitation in this space is I don't have ceiling height. And there's still ways that I can get around that I haven't quite investigated as yet, right? Like I could just bounce the light off the ceiling and have it come back. Like there's so many interesting ways around it. But one of the ways I got around the limitation of the ceiling height and foregoing trying to do butterfly light, which a lot of people say is most flattering for models and females and in general, I just chose seated portraiture and very directional light, almost toward that Rembrandt type of setup. And it's been going for me. It's been going quite well. And I still experiment with other lighting setups, but I guess the point here is, instead of chasing lighting techniques, I am choosing to be comfortable with the type of work I can do within the space that I have. And once I've arrived to that point that, fam, this is just what you got, all that other stuff and all the other type of techniques and lightings and things that I can do if I had more space just left my brain. It left my creative basket. It no longer occupies space. And for me, that's important because it's not there to become a negative thing. Like, oh, you thought this session was dope, but you can't even do butterfly lighting, so it could have been better. Like, no, that's gone, and I closed the door. All I'm focused on is, here's what I can do and in my space, and here's what I will continue to hammer in. And it's been very meaningful to me. Like I know when someone comes down here to do a headshot session or some editorial, whatever it is, I know exactly where we're going. From the onset, the expectation is, here's what we'll be doing. Mostly seated portraiture. And I can do some full bodies, and that was a big struggle as well, figuring out how to do full body down here. From the onset, the expectation was set. This is the type of work that I'm doing. This is the type of work that I am becoming more and more familiar with. And as I become more and more familiar, I'm getting better. And I'm not getting better by anyone's measure of success. I'm getting better because the more I do this, every session I look at the work and say to myself, whoa, I see and I feel the improvement. Now I can focus on accepting the space that I have here is not a limitation, but my reality. My light is always going to be here, and my reflector is always going to be here, and my subject is always going to be seated. I could change up the size of my light. I could take out a parabolic softbox and I can put in what is it? It's I think it's a 24-inch beauty dish. I love that thing for harsh light and beauty work. I can do that. Or I can swap out my reflector. I can take out the white bounce. I can put in a black to really get some negative fill. Or I can set up book lighting, which I got to do a video on that. I've discovered book lighting very recently. Whoa, book lighting is nuts. But yeah, I got so much variation in what I can do in terms of the lights. And still the same seated format, and also the direction and angle that my subject is sitting at. I got a lot of work to do. I got a lot of years ahead of me in just this one recipe. I'm totally fine with this. And because I'm fine and comfortable with this, Now it allows me to really connect with my subject and dial in the work. And the work is about portraiture. The work is about sculpting light. The work is about connecting with my subject and having them adjust their micro expressions to get what we are after. So yeah, I've finally reached a place now where I don't have any insecurities about my studio space. When I walk down here, all I feel is just energy. I feel like it's time to work. And I'm not so much there's this ideology out there. I ran across it when talking about or researching the 50 millimeter focal length, where people say, at some point limitations start to or stop being limitations, but start being motivations for shaping your creativity. My studio space is very much that. I don't think I'll be bored or hit the ceiling, pardon the pun, in what I'm doing here for quite some time. And I feel like I need more space. It's because, or it will be an intentional decision for something that I'm going after. Not because I have this feeling like I don't have enough. I've got more than enough. And I'm quite happy to say that on my journey as a portrait photographer, I've come to this place of confidence in my studio space. I've come to this place of confidence in my lighting, in my direction to my subjects and the work that I'm getting. And it's a warm and fuzzy feeling that I'm happy to have in my studio. So yeah, learning to love a small studio is a bit of a journey. It's a bit of a wild ride, and talking about overcoming imposter syndrome and not to compare it with other photographers' studios and their safe space. It's about conquering self and really getting out of my own way to make sure that my reality and my tools and my space are all in unison and all in sync to make sure that I'm achieving the goal as the photographer I want to be. Welcome to 2026. Thank you so much for sharing the time here with me today. I always say time is the most valuable resource that we have, and I do not take it lightly that you have shared some of yours here with me today. Like the video if you like it, subscribe to the channel, got plenty more coming. My name is Ramon. I'm out of here. Peace.